cold shower of thank yous in this drought-stricken California weather, and let's get right into this. So, facial hair is overrated, and we're going to define this as men's facial hair, since predominantly men possess facial hair, and being overrated as possessing a higher value than what it should be in the norm. And the first contention is that many men can't grow any facial hair, and are often shamed for not having the ability to grow facial hair, and have created the slang term of baby facing, which is created such a backlash among the men who can't grow facial hair, as explained by that of BuzzFeed just 2 weeks ago, that these people who don't have the ability to grow facial hair often face great psychological distress of the ability to which they have been shown to not be part of the group, and oftentimes are moved away from the group because they can't be part of the whole. Secondly, that it is simply easier to get a job when you are clean shaven, preferably to that of facial hair. Now, The Guardian explains on May 6, 2014, that it is 49% easier to get a job, and just shows to us that you'll have a job if you go and shave today. Now, thirdly, that facial hair is actually unhygienic, and sorry for the people that have beards, I will shave today, but the UK Mail on March 13 explains that bacteria, germs, which facial hair possess, leads to infections in the skin, and can often cause greater infection which you can have when you are actually clean shaven, and also cause ingrown hairs and pimples from the grease from the facial hair. Fourthly, that in fact, this presents a false maturity. When you possess facial hair at a young age, in fact, you can do more illegal things because of the fact that many store owners think that you're old enough to have alcohol or tobacco. Which means that what this shows to us is that if you have facial hair, you are 76% more likely, out of a survey conducted by that of CNN in 2012, out of the 200 7-Eleven store owners that they surveyed, although they are legally required to actually go about checking you for their identification, they are inclined to actually give you the substance which you are asking for, whether it be alcohol or that of tobacco. You are 76% more likely to break the law and inflict yourself harm because of the fact that you have facial hair. And lastly, that it's simply more attractive. And in fact, there is nothing more stronger than this, because a Tinder poll conducted just 2 weeks ago, that in fact, 6 out of 10 women on Tinder admit that they prefer clean-shaven men to that who possess facial hair, which shows to us that you should probably change your Tinder profile picture, in fact, right now, because you'll have much better chances to do so in the fact that if you have a clean-shaven face, you are more attractive to the people who you're trying to attract yourself to. And for all the reasons that we've seen today, and hopefully this might be a clean-shaven debate here today, voting for the affirmative today, and understanding that you have a clean face, you will be more successful.
So wonderful speech. Just starting off with your first contention regarding that men can't grow facial hair. You talked about the fact that there's psychological stress and that they're not part of the group. Who exactly is being excluded from what group for not having the ability to grow a beard?
Well, people who can't grow beards are automatically excluded from the people who can grow beards.
You exclude people who don't have beards?
No, I'm saying that society does.
Really?
Does.
According to who?
According to BuzzFeed.
BuzzFeed, the most credible source we've ever seen.
A credible source, and shows to us that 3 out of 10 men have a difficult time growing facial hair.
Okay, so what's the resolution?
The resolution is that facial hair is overrated.
Okay, so is this resolution about people who can't grow facial hair, or about whether facial hair is overrated or not?
It's about what the resolution states.
Okay, got it.
However, this is part of the resolution, since facial hair is very much part of this.
Okay, so in your definition of overrated, you mentioned that it's having a higher opinion than what is deserved. What is, oh, we only have a minute. Yeah, so just after this question, what is the current opinion of facial hair?
The current opinion on facial hair varies.
As an off-time roadmap, I'm going to go his case, my case. Okay. It is for men like Ben Affleck, George Clooney, and Hugh Jackman that I absolutely urge a negation ballot today, because we absolutely must disagree with the resolution that states facial hair is overrated. Let's look at his case. First off, he said that men can't grow facial hair. As I brought up during cross-examination, his source was BuzzFeed, not exactly the most credible source. In addition to this, it's not very topical to today's debate because of the fact it's about men who can grow facial hair, not men who can't. Also, no one's really excluded for not, let's be ridiculous. Okay. Second, he brings up this contention that it's easier to get a job. However, I want to apply what I brought up during cross-examination about what today's debate is about. Not about whether beards are good or bad, about what they are currently rated as. And this is one big point why you should be voting for the negation. Because as I brought up, I asked, well, what is the current opinion of beards? And he says, they vary. My opinion, or my stance on the negation side, is that beards are valued fairly, that they are not overrated, that they are rated appropriately. So whether or not they're more likely or less likely to get a job isn't apparent and doesn't matter in the debate, because all that matters is that beards are rated appropriately. His third contention is about how beards are hygienic, and I'm going to get to that contention when we go back onto my case, but remember that he's wrong. His fourth contention was about maturity. He brings up that they're 76 more likely to break the law. Again, it doesn't, just because you have a beard doesn't mean you're more likely to break the law, that you're going to have like a different intent, that you're going to be like, oh yeah, I have a beard, I'm just going to go, like rob a place. That's not how that works. In addition to this, again, remember what the resolution is. Not whether beards are good or beards are bad. It's about whether beards are overrated. Not once does he give you a presentation of how beards are actually looked at in the status quo. He just brings up these opinions on why beards are bad. His fifth is that more attractive, and he brings up the Tinder poll. Again, let's talk about that source. Tinder, really? That's not the most credible source, nor is it one that's probably a little bit biased, And I'll talk about why he's wrong in my first contention, which is that women actually think that men are attracted with beards. According to the Huffington Post, on May 1st, 2013, they did an analysis of over 50 men who had pictures. One clean-shaven, one with stubble, and one with a beard. They ranked them 1 through 10. The study concluded that when men didn't have a beard and were clean-shaven, they were average ranking of 6. With stubble, 6.2. When they had a beard, average ranking was 7.5, ultimately showing that men are viewed more attractive when they have a beard. Yay me! Now let's go back to his contention. Remember when he said that beards are unhygienic? Ha, you're wrong. Okay, so let's talk about how this absolutely isn't the case. Because according to the Wall Street Journal on February 15, 2013, that it brings up the fact that this is actually going to be good for your for facial conditions. They bring up this source that they talk about, that exact source that my opponent brings up, and actually found that all of the things that happen, like the pimples that he brings up, that happens when you shave the beard. Because all of that bacteria, and then shaving it off, then it gets into the skin. The beard itself is actually healthy. So if you want to have all that unhygienic stuff he talks about, shave your beard and have them go away. Now let's go to my third contention, which is the fact that it's actually good for preventing risks of cancer. According to Daily Mail on February 3rd, 2015, that researchers found that beards protect against powerful UV rays. It showed that 90% more likely to have a risk of skin cancer because, this protects against those powerful UV rays. My fourth contention why, so just to clarify, 1 is because more attractive, 2 is because it is hygienic, and 3 is because of cancer. Now, 4th is because it actually prevents risks of allergies, according to the Birmingham Technology Center on January 8, 2014. That mustaches prevent allergens from going into your nasal cavity, specifically like dust and pollen, which prevents allergies from reaching the lungs. And this is helpful for people who have asthma and who have allergies. And for these 4 contentions, and for the men like Ben Affleck, George Clooney, and Hugh Jackman, that I absolutely urge a negation ballot.
How easy is it to apply sunscreen on your beard compared to that if you were shaving?
What do you mean by that question?
Now, would it be easier to apply sunscreen on your face to protect you from harmful UV rays compared to that of if you have a beard?
I'm glad you bring that up, because the thing is that although, yes, putting sunscreen on your beard will be weird, you don't need the sunscreen on that area because the beard protects from as a natural sunscreen.
And what's stronger to protect you from the sun? An SPF 90 sunblock or your beard?
Actually, I'm glad you bring that up, because the study that I brought up, where was it? That Daily Mail article found that the deeper the length of the beard, the increase in SPF reaching up to 99 SPF by the length of a beard. So, actually in this case, beards. And they're natural.
First and foremost, let's look at our first contention, question, which really wasn't addressed. He challenges the link to the resolution today, but I clearly state that it's because of the fact that in our society we have a standard which men often associate beards with wisdom and intellect, that because of the fact that if you don't have a beard, you are often shamed. And thus my first contention stands, and thus should be moving across in today's debate as a one argument for the affirmation. Second is that it is easier to get a job, and in fact, he doesn't really contest this point. He just says that that the stance against beards vary, but I have proven to you using a source that it is 49% more likely for employers to actually hire you if you are clean shaven. And this is, once again, another argument won by the affirmation. And then later on, for our third contention, he proves there is no real attack on this argument. This is a very important argument for the actual affirmation to show that if you have a beard, you're more likely to put yourself in danger if you are a minor, because you now have the ability of a 76% chance higher ability to get alcohol and tobacco when you're not of legal age to do so. And thus, this is a contention which stands for the affirmation, and for all the contentions which I'm mentioning that haven't been attacked, they shouldn't be attacked later on, because this would skew me out of debate, and since he has the ability to actually respond to them and had the chance to, you shouldn't be responding to them later. Now, the fourth argument is that it's more attractive. He challenges my source. Literally. He challenges Tinder, a dating app, which almost everyone in this room is going to use right after today's speech. Which means this is a fourth contention, which is again one. Now lastly, he makes this contention of that of UV rays, and I already turned this against him during cross-ex by showing that once you can apply sunblock to your face, this automatically protects you from the sun more. Further, his argument about allergens, in fact, mustaches contain those allergens, which produce more allergic reactions within your nose.
So when we look at the grand scope of today's round, let's look at why the negation is clearly winning this round. So first off, I made this big point during my first speech about how the resolution isn't about whether it's good or bad to have facial hair. It's about whether or not facial hair is overrated. The affirmation does not give you any responses. He gives you no reason to show why, okay, here's the current view of facial hair, here's where it should be, and here's why this is too much. He never explains that to you. All he says is facial hair, bad, 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 bad. He gives you no articulation of the actual resolution. So when you look at his first contention of the men can't grow facial hair, again, not even contextual, because it's about men who do have facial hair. And no one's actually excluded, let's be honest. The second one is about how easier with jobs. Again, I responded to this and gave that articulation regarding the fact that it's not, regarding this resolution, doesn't prove either overrated, it just says, oh, well, bad. In addition, his third contention about how beards being unhygienic, that actually, when I brought up that counter contention regarding how it's only when you shave, and that's where all of the infection comes in, that was never responded to. Considering this is my last speech, don't allow him to respond to that in the next speech, because that would be abusive to me. He also makes this articulation that I shouldn't be able to respond to his first or second or third point because I didn't respond to them, but I did. So I don't really know what to do there. In addition, his fourth contention is regarding the faking maturity and how they're more likely to get alcohol and tobacco. Well, one, he never explains why this is bad, but two, because of the fact that, okay, if you have facial hair and you might be more likely to look older, it doesn't mean you're more likely to go out and try and commit those crimes. So he really never achieves that point. In addition, the fifth point is more attractive. He says that, oh, I attacked Tinder. Yeah, Tinder's a very biased source when considering it's a source about dating. That's not a very reliable source. In addition, I countered that with, an actual scientific study from people who do science, not create apps. Sorry, Tinder, I love you, but I brought up that Huffington Post article that brought up from the Journal of Aging and Medicine about how men, when they were looked at in 3 different ways, shaven, clean shaven with stubble, that they were ranked higher when they had beards. So that was clearly not responded to. Now let's look back at my case. In response to my first point about protecting from cancer, he said, well, sunblock's better. Well, I already brought up during cross-examination that beards are a natural sunblock, and they can be just as successful as sunblock. So my point still stands. In addition to this, he says that mustaches contain allergens. No, this is not true. In addition to this, I brought up a source explaining that mustaches prevent allergens from reaching the nose. Because even if he was right that mustaches did have allergens, it doesn't reach the nose. And that's where you sneeze. So that's all that really matters. So for the reasons that men look better, that it's healthier and it protects against cancer, and that I'm actually being topical, I urge a vote for the negation today.
So first and foremost, what he mentions is that, okay, he attacked my arguments. No, he didn't. He attacked my sources. He never challenges any of my arguments, and thus, by the fact that he only challenges my sources, doesn't actually challenge the very logic of my arguments. All my arguments are won in today's round. So further, by the fact that he doesn't address any of my contentions, he only looks to that facial hair can possibly prevent allergens, which they don't. I'll explain this to you now, how this happens, because of the fact that allergens are kept in your mustache, and your mustache is right under your nose, which means you're breathing in all of those allergens. And thus, which means that in fact, we're going to turn this back against the negation, which means that facial hair is in fact worse for you. And let's see how in fact the affirmation is winning today's debate. So first and foremost, we've seen that through the first contention, by society extending the idea that facial hair reflects that of intellect and wisdom, and because of the fact that you can be excluded in many groups if you don't have the ability to grow facial hair, this harms people who don't have the ability to do so, and shows how facial hair is overrated. Secondly, that in fact it is unhygienic, because of the fact that the negation tries to make this claim that in fact it reduces the UV intake by the fact that it covers your face. No, it doesn't. Sunblock does that. Sunblock with 90 SPF protection. That's what protects your face. Further, because of the fact that facial hair can literally cause ingrown hairs, infections, bacteria, and must I go on, allergens, because of the fact that they possess pollen and dust to which you can breathe in, this presents a harmful scenario for yourself. Then what we can see is that because of the fact that if you now have facial hair, you have the ability to go and purchase alcohol, which is bad because you can get into driving accidents and can harm your liver, which can cause cirrhosis. Now, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And lastly, challenges my source of Tinder, and he presents that scientists are better than Tinder. No, we're talking about attractiveness. Scientists don't know as much about attractiveness as Tinder, a dating app.
Thank you very much.